and welcome. Tonight, operatives of the Department of State Services arrest a suspected major arms dealer in Plateau State. Lagos Police Command says autopsy reports confirms the late SDP candidate in Ondo State was a victim of homicide. Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutuang distances himself from any plan to expel FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, former Governor Ayo Fayoshi and others from the People's Democratic Party. And Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene renews her call for the release of all exile files after being labeled a traitor by President Donald Trump. We begin tonight with security matters. Operatives of the Department of State Services, the DSS, have successfully dismantled a major arms supply network linked to terrorist activities in Plateau and neighboring states. And the operation, based on precise intelligence, led to the arrest of Musa Abubakar, a suspected prominent arms dealer, on November the 12th, 2025. Abubakar's arrest followed credible intelligence on his activities, culminating into a targeted raid on his workshop in the Mr. Ali area of Bassa local government area of Plateau State. And prior to the operation, DSS operatives conducted extensive surveillance on his residence and workshop to gather critical information. And during that raid, Abubakar was apprehended with various improvised explosive devices, components, chemicals, and equipment, all of which were seized by the DSS operatives. And this arrest is coming shortly after the recapture of Abdulaziz Obadaki, also known as Bomboy, a Kuje prison escapee, and the mastermind behind the Owo and Deeper Life Church attacks. In total, the DSS has now arrested 9 high-profile suspects involved in attacks across Plateau and Benue states, including Timna Manjol, who has already pleaded guilty to 2 of the 4 charges filed against him. Meanwhile, the youth wing of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, has called on President Bola Tinubu and security agencies to intensify efforts to address the insecurity across Nigeria. The group's national secretary, Bako Adashu, made this appeal during the Northeast Mating Convention, highlighting that the ongoing killings and attacks are forcing citizens to become internally displaced.
The government must create an inclusive government, an inclusive environment for all Nigerians, regardless of tribe, religion, or region. As one of the regions most affected by insecurity, displacement, violence, and systematic challenge, the Northeast speak with a voice of sorrow, yet we are hopeful. We call on governments at all levels, the federal, state, and local, to urgently and responsibly address these matters with honesty and commitment. Our people have suffered enough. They have left their ancestral land and now become IDPs. In their own God's-given land, they are strangers. The recent wake-up call made by President Donald Trump of the United States has once again drawn global attention to the ongoing challenges facing Nigeria.
Meanwhile, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, has dismissed claims that Christians are being systematically targeted or killed in the country, affirming that no religious group is facing persecution in Nigeria. Mr. Fagbemi made this statement at an event in Erinle, Onyu local government area of Kwara State, emphasizing that narratives, especially on international platforms, alleging genocide against Christians are inaccurate. He says that killings occurring in parts of the country cuts across religious and ethnic lines.
There is no persecution of any religion. The government is not into any psycho-religious conflict or evangelistical judo with any religion. So, if it happens that some people are being killed, unfortunately, the government is taking taking steps to ensure that this is addressed. It is not targeted at any particular religion. Otherwise, what do you say about what is happening in Zamfara, Ebi, in Sokoto, and other areas that are predominantly Muslim communities? So let us continue to ward off any insinuation that it is or we have Christian genocide.
7 members of the family and aides of the late Social Democratic Party governorship candidate in Ondo State, Mr. Bamidele Akinboye, are to remain in custody as autopsy report determining the cause of his death is yet to be released. Commenting on the latest development, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police stated that the command is awaiting guidance from the Directorate of Public Prosecution on possible prosecution.
Months after the death of the former Social Democratic Party governorship candidate in Ondo State, Mr. Bamidele Akinboye, the dust is yet to settle for the family to begin preparation for his final rest. The autopsy result is out, and the Lagos State Police Command says it's taken the bull by the horn with their investigations. In this exclusive interview with Channels Television, the Commissioner of Police in Lagos, Olorundare Jimoh, explains that the toxicology findings have covered some miles for the homicide detectives.
We started investigating the matter as a case of suspected murder, but the autopsy reports have been made available to us on our request. Autopsy was carried out and the reports have been sent to the police force. And from the reports so far, the case we are investigating now is a case of murder, and for which we have compiled a case file and forwarded to DPP, Department of Public Prosecution, for legal advice on the way forward in the matter.
Speaking further on the issue, Mr. Jimoh assures family members and Nigerians that no stone will be left unturned in unraveling those behind the murder.
But now that the autopsy is out and we are investigating the case of murder now, out of those 17 personalities who are family members mostly, as at the time he died, 7 of them have case to answer with respect to the autopsy report that we have gotten. And these 7 names that we have forwarded to DPP with the detailed investigation report and the content of the report, the case file, the entire thing is now with the DPP. So the DPP, we are waiting for their advice to now know who has case to answer and those to be prosecuted. Lagos State Police Command will leave no stone unturned in ensuring that we get to the root of the cause of the death of Otumba Benson Bamidele Akinboye.
With the case now established and the directive from the Directorate of Public Prosecution being awaited, 7 of the 14 members of the Akinboye family and domestic aides there to remain in custody for further investigation.
Prominent political figures in Plateau State, including Patrick Dakum, the Labour Party's governorship candidate in the 2023 general election, along with several senior leaders of the ruling People's Democratic Party, have officially defected to the All Progressives Congress, the APC. And this announcement was made at a rally held at the Polo Ground, marking what many observers have described as one of the most significant political realignments ahead of the 2027 elections. Our correspondent, Percy Dabang, reports.
The Jos Polo Ground is filled to capacity as thousands witness what party leaders describe as a major turning point in Plateau politics. The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, arrives the Polo Ground alongside the APC National Chairman, governors, members of the National Assembly, and other party leaders.
Let me assure the good people of Plateau State.
Addressing the gathering before receiving the defectors, the Senate President, who represents President Bola Tinubu, believes the defection of high-profile political figures shows that Plateau is ready for a new direction.
My eyes have seen, my ears have heard. I am a witness to the fact that come 2027, the entire Plateau State shall become APC.
The party formally received top defectors, including 2023 Labour Party governorship candidate Dr. Patrick Dakum, former Director General of the Mutfwang campaign, Letep Dabang, and several other prominent politicians, along with their supporters. Representing the Progressives Governors Forum, Nasarawa State Governor describes the APC as a political refuge for Nigeria's future.
President Bola Tinubu has already changed everybody in Nigeria to APC because of his reforms, because of his hard work, because of his talent. Welcome all the defectors.
Receiving the defectors, APC National Chairman declared that the party now enjoys overwhelming support across Plateau.
Today, we have one party on the Plateau. If you are not in APC, then you are not in any political party.
The national chairman then presented the party's flags to the leaders of the defectors.
PDP on the Plateau have lost focus completely. Not only that, at the national level of the party, it is obvious that the party was only waiting for time to disintegrate. And so I didn't have to wait for the house to collapse.
The rally ends with celebrations and renewed assurances that the APC is ready to reposition itself for future political success in Plateau State. Percy Dabang, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, has distanced himself from the motion seeking the expulsion of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, former PDP National Secretary Samuel Anyanwu, and other key stakeholders of the People's Democratic Party. A statement issued by the governor's Director of Press and Public Affairs, Giang Vere, says the motion was neither deliberated upon at the PDP Governors Forum nor discussed at the National Executive Committee meeting before being presented. Mr. Bere also says the governor made it very clear that the motion does not reflect his position and will not contribute to peace within the party. He stressed that the reconciliation and strengthening internal cohesion remain essential for restoring the stability and preparing the party for future electoral engagements. The Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Samuel Anyanwu, says the recent convention of the party held in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, is illegal in its entirety. Mr. Anyanwu explains that 16 of the 36 state chapters had not even done their congresses, suggesting that all that happened in Ibadan was illegal. He spoke on our interview political program, Sunday Politics.
Is that an all-inclusive convention? The constitutional part is very clear. When I had somebody yesterday at the podium when they were celebrating, doing their jamboree dancing and all that, saying that we must obey the constitutional part, and I laughed. The same for the judge who came out to say he has expelled people in the jamboree party was the person that went and dissolved an ESCO of Lagos State. The tenure is still running till March next year because he wants to produce his own chairman and secretary of the party. And we are still a fellow father of the party. This is very funny. Very funny. And besides, we have a court judgment. You had heard several times the acting national chairman, Honorable Roman Mohammed, in his statement that this is a law-abiding organization. We believe in the rule of law. And for that reason, we are going to obey the court judgment.
Part 2, after the break, Kaduna State government begins public engagement and consultations on its proposed 2026 budget. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Operatives of the Department of State Services arrest the suspected major arms dealer in Plateau State. Lagos Police Command says autopsy report confirms the late SDP candidate in Ondo State was a victim of homicide. Plateau State Governor Caleb Twang distances himself from any plan to expel left City Minister Nyesom Wike, former Governor Ayodele Fayoshe, and others from the PDP. And Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene renews her call for the release of all absent files after being labeled a traitor by Donald Trump. The National Assembly on Wednesday approved President Bola Tinubu's request to borrow 1.15 trillion naira from the domestic debt market just to help finance the 2025 budget deficit. Well, President Tinubu said that the debts will be used for the implementation of government programs and projects under the 2025 fiscal plan, while critics are warning that continued borrowing could actually push the country towards unsustainable debt levels. Government officials and lawmakers insist that strategic loans remain vital for financing infrastructure, sustaining growth, and maintaining investor confidence. But the question that is now on the lips of many Nigerians is, how and when will these debts be repaid? So tonight, Babajide Ogunsanwo, who is the founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst, is here to share more facts and vital insight on Nigeria's debt profile. Thank you very much, Babajide, for joining us on the news at 10.
Good evening.
And what is the actual state of government finances so far this year?
It just depends on what perspective you want to look at it. But if we want to look at and stick to the facts, the state of government finances will be that 7-letter word, unclear. Now, why would I call this and describe this as unclear? For 3 reasons. The first is, if you look at all the public records, we still do not have any official documents on the budget implementation scorecard or report for this year. So in simple terms, we're about to get to the end of 2025, and there's absolutely no public record on what is the situation of the budget as of today in terms of the budget execution report. So you go to the official website of the Federal Ministry of Budget and Planning, you look at the CBN's documents, you look at the National Planning Commission's documents, absolutely quiet on the state of the 2025 budget. That's the first reason. The second reason is we still do not have sufficient evidence that the returns on these debts is higher and outweighs the cost of the debt. And so as long as the cost of the debt is higher than the returns of the debt, we will be in a vicious cycle. In simple terms, what I mean is, Anne, if you go to the bank and you get a loan for 100 million naira, whatever it is, for instance, 30% per annum, and you move those monies into a project that just gives you a 10% return per annum, what has happened is the cost of your debt is significantly higher than the returns you're getting on the debt. Bad business. So we need to ask ourselves, is there sufficient evidence that the way and the returns and the results and the impact of this debt is higher than the cost we're paying for the debt? Now, the third reason why I describe the state of finances as unclear is that looking at all the information we have today, it shows that we are even getting more problems in the accuracy of our forecast. What I mean is our forecast in budgeting is significantly inaccurate. Let's take a look at what I mean. And if we take a look at that evidence from the central bank, first half of last year, looking at first half of last year, the budget for revenue for the federal government was 3.2 trillion naira. What was the actual? 2.4 trillion naira. So for the first half of last year, we'll look at the forecasting accuracy on government revenue of 68%. But look at what's happened this year. Even though we still don't have information for most of the second half of the year, the CBN tells us that first half of the year, the federal government's actual revenue, 3.1 trillion naira. However, the budget, the plan, based on all its assumptions, the plan was that first half of this year, the federal government will earn a revenue of 8.2 trillion naira. So it simply means that we are currently at just about 38% of our actual budget. So we can clearly see that last year, this year, the trend is downwards on how accurate are we forecasting. And that's a big problem, because if we're not planning well, then how will we execute well?
Well, Babajide, just 2 weeks ago, the National Assembly approved another presidential request, an external borrowing package worth 2.84 $1.47 billion. Is Nigeria in a debt trap?
Perhaps we don't use the word debt trap, but we are facing significant challenges. Some good news and bad news. Now, the good news is these numbers that we are hearing, both the external borrowing and the domestic borrowing, are not new borrowings. They were part of what the president had planned to do. So what it was before, it was that we were at the planning stage. It was, this is what I intend to do. And then there was some noise. But now it is going into actual. So we're now moving from potential to actual. So we're at the stage where these monies are going to be borrowed. So, but it is not new borrowings. It had always been the intention. So good news is that this isn't new borrowings. The bad news, Anne, is that our debt service is higher than even our revenue. So let's take a look at what I mean. And if we take a look at the facts from the Central Bank of Nigeria, looking at what happened in the first half of last year and the first half of this year, first half of last year, the evidence shows that the federal government earned a revenue of 2.2 trillion naira, first half of last year. However, debt service in excess of 6.7 trillion naira. What it means is that the amount we are even using to service the debt is more than the amount we are earning. Did that change in the first half of this year? The answer is no. The central bank makes it clear. First half of this year, yes, revenue has grown. However, debt service has also grown. So right now, first half of this year, federal government's revenue, 3.1 trillion naira. However, how much is it paying on debt? So how much has it paid on debt this year? 7.5 trillion naira. So the position is, revenue is growing, but debt is growing, and the amount of money we are using to service our debt is more than the amount of money we are earning. As we'll say, as a common man will say, shaking up. That is the fact.
But from where you're sitting, Babajide, looking at the future, what is the public debt looking like for the Nigerian government?
And we can look at it from different perspectives, but if we are really to stick to the facts, going by our trends, we will most likely be hitting 100 trillion naira domestic debt just as we're going into 2027. Let's look at these facts. These are not Babajide's facts. These are facts by the Debt Management Office, the Central Bank, and independent numbers that are publicly available. What we are doing is to analyze it and then be able to draw the insights. And if we take a look at even these trends within this decade, we can see the concerns. The evidence shows that what President Buhari did with the domestic debt in his last 2 years in office is what President Tinubu has done in his first 2 years. What do I mean? As of 2021, the evidence from the DMO shows that domestic debt, 17.6 trillion naira as of the second quarter of 2021. As of the second quarter of 2023, that had grown by about 30 trillion naira to 48.31 trillion naira. Statement of fact, domestic debt had grown by 30 trillion naira from the second quarter of 2021 to the second quarter of 2023. Now, what has happened between the second quarter of 2023 to the second quarter of 2025? The DMO says it has also grown by an additional 30 trillion naira. So from 48 trillion naira, we are now almost at 78 trillion naira. So that's why I said that from the domestic perspective, the evidence shows that the last 2 years of President Buhari, domestic debt grew by 30 trillion naira approximately. The first 2 years of President Tinubu, domestic debt has also grown by approximately 30 trillion naira. The difference is, what we see is that President Tinubu is slowing down on the growth of external debt. So we can clearly see external debt between 2021 to 2023 moved from $28 billion to $38 billion. Right now, that's now about $42 billion. So the President Tinubu seems to be more focused on just keeping the borrowings because we're not earning revenue, the government wants to spend. So it really might not be a debt trap, but perhaps what we'll call a vicious cycle. Like I said, we're approaching 100 trillion naira in domestic debt for the federal government based on these trends. The concerns are the same concerns shared by the World Bank, and poverty is rising. So the question we need to ask ourselves really is, are we getting more for this debt, or are we getting less for the debt? And
thank you very much, Babajide Okuso, founder of Leadership by Data, and of course, Channels Television's Chief Data Analyst, for your exciting insight on the news at 10.
And we'll keep watching the football match, hoping that we'll probably get out of this.
We do hope. Maybe that's the
situation we are in.
To other stories now. The Kaduna state government has launched public consultations on its proposed 2026 budget of 985.9 billion naira, starting with a statewide town hall meeting aimed at promoting transparency, accountability and citizen participation in the budget process. Governor Obasani used the forum to announce an allocation of 100 million naira for each of the state's 255 political wards to accelerate grassroots development in the year 2026. He also emphasized that his administration's commitment to rural infrastructure, human capital development. He says he will ensure that no community is left behind.
The Hassan Usman Kastina House in Kaduna is packed as Governor Obasani, members of the State Executive Council, development partners and residents meet to review the state's proposed 2026 budget of 985.9 billion, with 699.7 billion for capital projects and 286.2 billion for the recurrent expenditure. The town hall is part of the governor's Open Governance Initiative, providing a 2-year scorecard and giving citizens a platform to shape priority projects for the coming year. A major highlight is the 100 million naira allocation per ward, a first-of-its-kind provision designed to accelerate grassroots development across Kaduna's 255 political wards.
We are connecting our local governments. For instance, we are constructing about 35 kilometers of asphalt road connecting Chukwu local government to the local government, meaning we are looking at the local governments that the majority of our people are farmers. We believe the only way we can be able to address this infrastructure deficit is to connect our markets with our farmers.
The Commissioner for Budget and Planning provides insights into the 2026 fiscal framework with focus areas including infrastructure, healthcare, education, and rural transformation.
Completion of ongoing projects and inherited commitments is a priority. Sustained social investment in education, health, agriculture, security, and infrastructure. We'll also be aggressive in pursuing internally generated revenue, and growing the revenue is our own strategy.
Participants commend the government for its performance in the 2025 budget and for sustaining a culture of dialogue, accountability, and inclusion.
We commended his rural transformation program, which has started in earnest with a network of roads. Since the bulk of our people are farmers, they need that access to the farms. The rest is clear.
Indeed, going through this proposal, when implemented, every section of Kaduna State will witness development, youth empowerment, agricultural development, and many others.
This meeting is the first leg of statewide consultations ahead of the formal presentation of the 2026 budget to the Kaduna State House of Assembly.
Still ahead on the news at 10, ARCO Worldwide Services Limited, a subsidiary of ARCO Group PLC, receives the most compliant taxpayer award from the FIRS. Please join us again. Welcome back. ARCO Worldwide Services Limited, a subsidiary of ARCO Group PLC, has been honored with the most compliant taxpayer award by the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the FIRS. The award ceremony held at the banquet hall of Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos brought together tax administrators and awardees to celebrate and promote a culture of compliance. The event aims to encourage both corporate organizations and individuals as Nigerians to view tax payment as a vital corporate and personal responsibility.
Meeting tax obligations is an important duty for both individuals and corporate bodies as it enables government to provide services to the citizenry. In line with this civic duty, ARCO Worldwide Services Limited, a subsidiary of ARCO Group PLC, has proven to be outstanding in the last 1 year, hence a recognition by the Federal Inland Revenue Service as the most compliant taxpayer for the year 2025. The Director, Taxpayers Service, FIRS, congratulates all those who made this year's awards a success and thanked organizations present for living up to their duties.
We are honoring them for their commitment to paying their taxes on time as I went due, and also in the right amount of taxes as well.
The award is held every year in line with the tax institution's guidelines, which include accurate reporting and record keeping, timely filing of returns, and prompt payment of all taxes, all of which ARCO Group has fulfilled.
We have singled out companies today in the large taxpayers category, the medium taxpayers category, and the emerging or small taxpayer category to honor them today, to appreciate them and let them know that government sees and appreciates their efforts and are grateful.
As a diversified indigenous company that operates in different sectors of the Nigerian economy, ARCO Group PLC has demonstrated that it will continue to play its part in the economic progress of the country by meeting its tax obligations. Other organizations were also awarded, which speaks to the scope of the recognitions and shows the level of compliance across board.
We're receiving this award, which is largely an indication of our contribution to the nation building. We expect that this will have ripple effects in the event that other private sectors will be motivated to pay their taxes as well.
ARCO Worldwide Services Limited says the receipt of this national award will spur it to deliver more cutting-edge services, which covers high-quality drone surveillance, monitoring and data services that empower key government agencies and companies across sectors, including oil and gas, energy, maritime, security, defense, agriculture, infrastructure, and telecom sectors.
Stakeholders in the Niger Delta region have credited the partnership between the Tantita Security Services Limited and Maton Engineering Company with saving Nigeria nearly $8 billion in oil revenue and restoring confidence in the country's oil and gas sector. And this announcement was made in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, at the conclusion of the 5-day capacity building workshop organized in collaboration with Light Africa. The workshop is aimed at enhancing professionalism and human rights compliance among Tantita security personnel involved in pipeline surveillance operations. Our correspondent Charles Oporum reports.
At the Light Africa Training Center in Port Harcourt, mid-level security personnel and supervisors from across the Niger Delta gather for a 5-day training of the Trainers Workshop, a key initiative organized by Tantita Security Services and Maton Engineering Company to strengthen private security operations and ethical conduct in the field.
Take planning and implementation as a key tool for you to curb any pressure that want to come.
Stakeholders say the Tantita-Maton partnership, which began in late 2022, has transformed oil security in the region, cutting crude oil losses by more than 90% and helping Nigeria recover nearly $8 billion in annual oil revenue.
Prior to the engagement of Tantita, oil production dropped to an abysmal level of 1.1 million barrels per day. That was in 2022. As of today, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics last report said the loss to crude theft is 9,200. So you can see from 120,000 to 9,200, that's more than 500%.
Industry experts credit the partnership for improving national energy security and reducing illegal bunkering that once crippled production. They also link it to renewed investor confidence and an oil-driven boost to Nigeria's GDP, which according to the National Bureau of Statistics grew by 4.23% in 2025.
Going by the present challenges, the MD Tantita Security Service Nigeria Limited has deemed it fit that it's a prerequisite that all personnel must be trained, especially now that we want to increase the level of our performance. So this is a tool for us to get it done.
Manager at Maton Engineering says the initiative will improve teamwork, operational efficiency, and ultimately boost oil production.
This initiative, if imputed into their daily operations, it will really help a better teamwork, better performance in their operations, and of course that will lead to a much more efficient production.
On the closing day, the enthusiastic participants thanked the organizers while sharing their takeaways from the exercise, even as the trainers commend their dedication to the cause.
With the knowledge that we have here now, we are not going to use force on them again, but we are going to see that they stop illegal bunkering in the Niger Delta.
The workshop, which also featured simulation exercises and case studies, is part of a wider initiative to align private security operations in the Niger Delta with global best practices, with the next batch scheduled to commence theirs on Monday. Stakeholders say the success of the Tantita-Matouan partnership is proof that effective collaboration between private operators and government can not only protect vital assets, but also drive national growth and stability. Charles Operum, Channels Television.
And talking about the private sector, private universities remain vital partners in Nigeria's national development, but their contributions can be sustained only through stronger policy support and targeted investment. And this message was highlighted at the maiden convocation ceremony of the Claretian University of Nigeria in Owerri, Imo State. The private Catholic institution, officially licensed in 2021, graduated 64 students, including 6 who earned first-class honors. Our correspondent, Aitokwe Kuteyi, reports.
The two-day event opens with a convocation lecture delivered by the former Executive Secretary of the National Universities Commission, Professor Abubakar Rashid. Speaking on education values and the public good, he emphasizes the growing role of private universities in strengthening the nation's higher education system.
The gradual recognition by Nigerian state that the public sector alone could no longer carry the burden of expanding access to higher education. From the late 1970s through to 1990s, Nigeria witnessed a paradox. While the demand for university education grew exponentially, the capacity of public institutions remained stagnant. By the mid-90s, fewer than 40 federal and state universities were struggling to absorb hundreds of thousands of qualified applicants each year.
After the lecture, the Vice Chancellor, Reverend Father Wens Madu, highlights the university's recent achievements and reiterates the need for collaboration and strategic partnerships.
In the trade fair organized by Afri-Exim Bank in Egypt in August, we came first in the innovative prize that got us some little money for the institution. But the idea is to show how zealous and how interested the Claretian University is in partnering with institutions, research centers, universities in order to drive knowledge and to share the fruits of research.
On Convocation Day, the arena is filled with management, staff, students, dignitaries, and friends. The Vice Chancellor delivers his keynote address, followed by speeches from the Chancellor and the Chairman of the Board of Trustees, all commending the institution's progress.
Today, as we graduate our pioneers, they are our scouts into the world. I'm very glad to inform you that the university has grown from 2 faculty institutions to 3 faculty, with the commencement of academic programs in the Faculty of Allied Health Sciences, which included the Faculty of Nursing Science, the Department of Public Health, and the Doctor of Physiotherapy programs. All the programs are running in the university, have fully accreditation by the National Universities Commission and their professional bodies.
The Claretian missionaries have stepped into the challenging road of educational excellence towards rebuilding the future. They need all our support. They need the support of the government. They need the support of entrepreneurs to have an enabling environment.
Claretian University of Nigeria stands called to participate in this global covenant
training men and women who will not only excel intellectually, but also act as agents of moral transformation.
Development partners, including Dr. Scott Michelson of AgriCare Foundation USA, offer goodwill messages, while the best graduating student, Mary Agbochim, delivers the valedictory speech.
Today we gather to honor the graduates for their hard work, perseverance, and achievement. But we also gather for a higher purpose, a mission set forth by our loving God, to bless lives, to strengthen communities, and build a brighter future for Nigeria and for the world.
It is with deep humility and a profound sense of history that I stand before you today as the first voice in the convocation history of Claretian University of Nigeria. This moment is a bridge between vision and fulfillment. And to be the one who speaks at this maiden convocation is not merely an honor, it is a calling.
Cash awards and recognitions go to outstanding students and dignitaries as the ceremony concludes, marking the end of an academic journey and the beginning of new pursuits for the pioneer graduates. Ejitope Kutai, Channels Television News.
Staying in the education sector, Kano-based private institution Skyline University, Nigeria, has held its own fourth convocation ceremony, awarding degrees to a total of 223 graduates. The event, attended by several high-profile dignitaries, featured the presentation of certificates of honors and recognition of the university's commitment to academic excellence. Our correspondent Nanchin Vincent reports.
The fourth convocation ceremony of Skyline University, Nigeria, is witnessed by top dignitaries, including government officials. Skyline University, Nigeria, graduated a total of 180 bachelor's degree holders and 43 postgraduate degree students.
Proud to award outstanding overall.
The management of the institution reminded the graduates of their role in upholding the future of education in the country.
The future of the education is changing, and we have to be a lifelong learner. I always say, education is not filling a glass of water, but lighting a fire. The future of education is no more in bricks, it is bricks and clicks.
Our collective achievements today are a testament of our enduring vision of Skyline University, Nigeria, to be an internationally recognized institution of excellence in higher education, providing a technologically enabled platform for innovative research and education driven by creativity and entrepreneurship.
The Kano state government reaffirmed its support for the institution, stating that the administration is committed to revitalizing the education sector.
Education has always been at the heart of my dream for Kano State. It is not just a policy priority, it is a personal mission. The declaration of a state of emergency on education under my administration was not a symbolic act. It was a firm and passionate commitment to rebuild, reform, and revitalize our education system from the ground up.
Stakeholders also praised the institution for fostering innovation and academic growth.
I believe it's worth it. I believe the saying that better soup na money make up.
So let your learning illuminate others. Use it to solve problems, to uplift your communities, to drive innovation, and to be a voice for truth and justice.
Established in 2018, Skyline University, Nigeria, is promising to continue to be a beacon of quality education with the aim of enriching minds and shaping the future of young Nigerians. From Kano Commercial City, Nanchin Vincent, Channels Television News.
The senator representing Ondo South, Dr. Jimo Ibrahim, has awarded a total of 100 million naira in bursaries to 1,000 students from the district. Each beneficiary received a bank draft of 100,000 naira to support their education. Senator Ibrahim says the initiative is part of his ongoing effort to give back to his constituency and the wider public.
Indigent students drawn from the 6 local government areas of Ondo South Senatorial District are the latest beneficiaries of the education support by the senator representing the area, Senator Jimoh Ibrahim. The 100 million naira bursary set aside for 1,000 students forms part of Senator Ibrahim's commitment to reducing financial difficulties faced by students, as well as investing in human capital development across the district. Beneficiaries receive the funds at the premises of the University of Fortune, Okitipupa local government area.
It's 1,000 students collecting 100,000 each for 100 million bursary awards for students in Ondo South Senatorial Districts, where I represent as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So this is my own gift to the students. Education is very important. So we had 1,000 students here, and each of them got a band draft, UBA band draft, to 100,000 naira each.
A prominent traditional ruler from the area commends the senator for the kind gesture.
It has been, giving students bursary awards every year for a very, very long time. Over 30, 25 years ago. So what he's doing here is nothing new. And I like him because he wants to know not only Nigeria to develop, but to those of us who are here, he wants us to develop and, take part in, subsequent governments in the future.
9 physically challenged students also benefit from the award.
We want to thank Barrister Jimoh Ibrahim for what he's done for us. We really appreciate him. God will continue to promote him.
Some of the beneficiaries expressed gratitude to Senator Ibrahim, promising to make good use of the funds.
Thank you so much for what you are doing to us. It's actually pushing us to the stage of success in life.
I don't want to appreciate Senator that he has helped us with the 100,000 naira. I thank him, I appreciate him, and we will continue to pray for him. God will bless him.
The beneficiaries receive their bank drafts, grateful for the 100,000 naira that will take care of some of their needs, thereby reducing the financial burden that comes with getting a higher education.
The governor of Edo State, Monday Okpeholo, has pledged to prosecute anyone involved in irregularities related to the Museum of West African Arts project. The governor made the statement while receiving the Minister of Arts, Culture, Tourism and Creative Economy, Hannatu Musa Musawa, amid ongoing controversy surrounding the project.
I want us to work together to see how, in keeping the traditional institution right, in making that wrong that was done whole, but at the same time balance it out with the need for us as a nation to have some level of expectant credibility internationally. This responsibility falls on our heads at a very difficult time for Nigeria internationally, where we have been defined in a way that does not reflect our definition as a people.
We are not fighting investment. The cost of the building, the pavilion is sold there, is 4.1 billion. And I don't have given 3.8 billion. What is that? 300 million. That is why I was telling you, let's sit down, let's talk before we can start making it public. Because not even just Edo State alone that we need to protect its name. Nigeria as a whole. So if somebody then gave to me, there will be no hiding place for criminals in our land.
And in the world of sports, the match between Nigeria and DR Congo is still ongoing. The match ended 1-1 in regulation time, but at the moment, there's still the draw of 2-2, and the penalties have been kicked after extra time. The second round of penalties are currently ongoing, and the first round ended at 3-3. We'll definitely bring you more details as the match continues. And other stories, the African Men Player of the Year shortlist for the year's CAF Award is now down to the final three. The Super Eagles and Galatasaray prolific striker Victor Osimhen face stiff competition from PSG and Morocco's Achraf Hakimi, Liverpool's and Egypt's Mohamed Salah, Super Falcon forward Rasheedat Ajibade, who all captained the senior women's national football team to their 10th Women Africa Cup of Nations title in Morocco in July this year. She will battle to Moroccan Sana Massoudi, who plays for AS FAR, and Ghislaine Chebak for the Women's Africa Player of the Year award. Meanwhile, current Women Goalkeeper of the Year award winner Chiamaka Nadozie makes the final three shortlist for the Goalkeeper of the Year. She will be up against Morocco's Khadija El Mrimishi and South Africa's Andel Delamini for this year's Best Goalkeeper award. Ikorodu City have moved top of the Nigeria Premier Football League following a 2-1 win against Plateau United at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Onikon, Lagos. The Lagos-based team lead after 13 games with 24 points. Previous leaders Nasarawa United dropped to second position, and that's after a 1-1 draw against host Khalifat. The Lafia-based team are also on 24 points, but Ikorodu City enjoy a superior goals difference. As for Bayelsa United, they beat Abia Warriors 2-1. Rivers United also edged Warri Wolves at 2-1 in Port Harcourt, the River State capital. Wiki tourists enjoy the only away win of the day, stunning Enyimba at 1-0 in Aba, and El Kanemi Warriors and Niger Tornadoes all enjoyed home wins in match day 13 games. Well, just coming in now, the Super Eagles' hopes to play at the FIFA World Cup has been dashed after losing to the DR Congo via penalties in Rabat, Morocco. The three-time African champions played a 1-1 draw in extra time. DR Congo will now represent Africa at the Intercontinental Playoffs in Mexico next year. Away from sports and outside our shores, 3 UN agencies have delivered stark warnings over the deteriorating situation in Sudan, as around 90,000 people fled Al-Fashir and nearby areas in the last 2 weeks. The World Health Organization says the fighting has killed at least 40,000 people and displaced 12 million others. 8 groups believe the death toll could rise. Last month, the RSF seized Al-Fashir, the capital of North Darfur, and rampaged through the Saudi hospital in the city, killing more than 450 people, and that's according to the WHO. Aid workers and displaced residents say that RSF fighters went house to house, killing civilians and committing sexual assaults. And to other stories now, it has become more clear that Republican Congresswoman Mallory Taylor Greene is not on the same page with U.S. President Donald Trump, going by recent public disagreements between both of them, especially over the recently released documents of the Epstein files. On Friday, President Trump called Ms. Greene wacky in social media posts and said that she should be unseated in next year's election. On Saturday, he called her a traitor. Ms. Greene has in recent days questioned whether Mr. Trump was still putting America first and criticized his handling of Jeffrey Epstein files. The feud comes as the House is set to consider whether to release the files to the public, with Speaker Mike Johnson saying that he will put the bill to a vote this coming week. And the main news again. Operatives of the Department of State Services have arrested a suspected major arms dealer in Plateau State. And Nigeria's hope of going to the World Cup has just been dashed But that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwawado. Good night and have a fruitful week ahead.